America has been working for generations to achieve true racial equality. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery in 1865. The Voting Rights Act was signed into law 100 years later in 1965. In 2008, America elected its first non-white president in Barack Obama. Many people thought that was the final blow to racism in America, and that we would live in a post-racial society. However, racial controversies like Colin Kaepernick's protest have shown race is not a non-factor in America. Historian and author James W. Loewen is now shedding a light on another institutionalized racial inequality: sundown towns.
A sundown town is a town that for decades was, and some of them still are, all white on purpose. Now, having said that they're all white, I gotta say, I put that in quotes.
Loewen says he puts that in quotes because prison and hospital populations don't count. And he says it's questionable as to whether live-in maids should be counted either. He also says that simply being all white isn't enough to qualify a town as a sundown town.
That's the first part of the definition. And the second is, this is on purpose. That is, we're not talking about a town that no black household ever happened to go to. This is on purpose. And so you have to confirm that, for example, a black family tried to move in and something bad happened to them after they did. Many towns actually posted signs.
The signs posted in these sundown towns were notoriously racist, often using racial slurs. The most famous of these signs, and the one that gives the practice its name, was one featured in Maya Angelou's memoir, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. She writes of seeing signs that say the N-word, and then say, "Don't let the sun set on you here." Loewen says that some towns went beyond just posting signs.
All of these laws were illegal if you took the 14th Amendment seriously. But the 14th Amendment wasn't taken seriously for many decades. There's even a book about this called The Amendment That Refused to Die. But given the actual application of the laws, yes, it was, quote, legal, unquote. And so cities would pass ordinances forbidding black folks from living in the city. And they thought these laws were legal. And if you think they're legal, they're legal.
In fact, Loewen says the issue of sundowns is bigger even than the towns who posted signs or passed ordinances. Many other towns, he says, simply enforced unwritten rules.
I'll give you an example. This is from another town down in southern Illinois, Johnston City. I was interviewing a retired Washington Post reporter who I had learned grew up in Johnston City. And I asked him, I said, well, did Johnston City ever have a sign? Did it ever have an ordinance? And he said, are you kidding? We never needed a sign. We never needed an ordinance. If a black family so much as tarried in town, the chief of police asked them their business. So here we have the chief of police enforcing a non-written rule, if you will.
While this history is disturbing, Loewen says it gets worse because sundown towns are not entirely a thing of the past. In some instances, the sundown tradition has been passed down and still thrives.
It's always hard to know whether a town is sundown as we speak. I'll give you an example of a town that was all white and originally on purpose as of when Obama took office. That would now be 9 years ago, I guess, or 10 years ago. And that would be, well, I'll give you two examples. Kenilworth, Illinois, which is the richest suburb and the most prestigious suburb of Chicago. Now, Kenilworth was set up around 1905, I believe, with four great commitments or four great principles. They had to do with no alleys and no fences, and these all expired after 20 years. But the one greatest principle that never was to expire is no Negroes and no Jews. And then, shortly thereafter, the guy who set up the town in the first place, Joseph Sears, went around and asked everybody who had moved in by then, well, would it be okay if we had live-in servants? And everybody said, sure, you can have black live-in servants, but they're not living independently. So there's no doubt that Kenilworth was a sundown town. Well, in its history, Kenilworth has had two black families that I know of. One lasted about 3 months. One lasted 12 years. They actually had a cross burned on their lawn. This was in maybe the 70s. But they stuck it out, and in fact, their son graduated from high school there, New Trier High School, and then they moved back into Chicago. And the last I knew, there wasn't a single black family in Kenilworth.
Of course, the question then becomes, how in the world could a segregationist community be maintained, especially in such a populated area like Chicagoland?
It's maintained by reputation. It's maintained by realtors telling people, I'm not sure you'll be happy here. You know there aren't any other, shall we say, African-American families, that kind of thing. People tell me, well, Kenilworth is very expensive. Most black families can't afford to live in Kenilworth. And that got on me so bad that I finally did the math, and I found that in the Chicago metropolitan area, there are about 7,000 black families that make more than the average family in Kenilworth. So a solid 7,000 of them could live in the upper half of the houses in Kenilworth, and yet not one has chosen to do so. So that's one way it's maintained. And the other way it's maintained is by what I call white thug behavior. You move in, and your kid gets beat up his first day in school. Or you move in, and somebody shoots into your house. You can't go home from that civil rights demonstration. Your home is the civil rights demonstration.
Loewen says towns can remain de facto sundown towns for decades, just based on reputation. As a result, he says it's not enough for a town to simply take down the signs or stop enforcing a segregationist culture. They have to actively include minorities to truly shed the stink of being a sundown town.
I think that every sundown town in America needs to first admit it. That's the first step. Second, apologize. We did this and it was wrong and we're sorry. And third, and we don't do it anymore. And that third statement needs to have some teeth. We're overtly trying to hire black cops or black teachers or whatever, and we're trying to house them in the community. Now, once you've taken those three steps, then the normal white thug behavior or white realtor steering will no longer apply. And furthermore, those steps alone will take care of the reputation issues, so black folks will try. And pretty soon, we won't have any sundown towns.
James Loewen invites listeners to visit his site for more information and resources for identifying and instituting change in sundown towns. For a link to his site and more information about all of our guests, visit our site, viewpointsonline.net. You can find us on Twitter at Viewpoints Radio. Our show is written and produced by Evan Rook. Studio production is done by Sean Waldron and Jason Dickey. Our executive producer is Reed Pence. I'm Marty Peterson.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you can donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-835-1478. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now. Call 1-800-835-1478. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher for donating. Call now, 1-800-835-1478. That's 1-800-835-1478.
At the beginning of the school year, moms and dads have high hopes to have a better morning routine, like lay out clothes the night before, wake up earlier, and make breakfast every day. To which online Mom Truths personalities Kat and Nat say,
"Yeah, right. How about a little reality here? Kat and I have 7 kids between us, and you know those school year resolutions?
You know, there's a survey from Nutri-Grain that shows 84% of parents make school year resolutions, and more than half of us break them within a few months.
But it's okay if your back to school resolutions fall flat, because Nutri-Grain gives you the energy to keep going.
So what does your real morning look like? Share your back to school morning mishaps and triumphs with us on social at #RealMorning.
Nutri-Grain comes with real fruit, 8 essential vitamins and minerals, and 8 grams of soft whole grains. It's a satisfying, efficient, portable breakfast bar for your time-compressed morning. Share your stories with Kat and Nat at #RealMorning.